Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for our Good Sound Happy Hour, Good Sound Audiology Happy Hour. I am Dr. Tina Jessee with Good Sound Audiology, and today we have fabulous guests who are actually two of our doctoral students from ASU. We have Jayce Hapka and Megan. I'm going to shred your last name, Megan
Bruxvoort.
I'm sorry, I panicked. I choked. So anyway, thank you both. You are both currently, actually, are you considered a fourth year right now? You're both?
I think so.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yes.
you finished your third year.
Correct.
We are in May, so you both finished your third year, and you are both going into your fourth year. Megan, you're going to be doing your fourth year here at Good Sound Audiology. So, yay, we're very excited to have you. And then Jayce, you and I had met each other because you did part of your third year rotation with us in our, it was only the Sun Lakes office, right?
Right. I only ever went to the Sun Lakes office.
Yeah, we weren't in Gilbert. So, so that's how we know each other. I actually work with students from both of the universities here in town, and you both just happen to coincidentally be from ASU. So I'm just curious. So let's just kind of start a little bit. What brought you both into the field of audiology?
Well, for me, I was always interested in healthcare, but I didn't want to go to medical school. It's a really big commitment. So audiology, when I found it, was a good way to get into somewhat of a health-related field, but not something that was so school-intensive.
Yeah, but it's still pretty intensive.
It is, but less than med school.
It is less than med school. And what about you, Jayce?
My mom is a regional coordinator of disability services for children in the schools in Minnesota.
Okay.
So growing up, she always had a really big passion for working with students who had hearing loss and things like that. So I met a lot of professional contacts through her, and it just kind of serendipity. I was talking to some of them one day, and they were like, "Oh, you should try it out a couple classes, see what you think." And tried it out, and I liked it quite a bit.
Wow, I didn't know that about you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I know your dad's a farmer.
Yes.
Yes. So from Minnesota, I knew that.
Yep.
And you are from Colorado.
Yes.
Yes, and you both. So you did your bachelor's in.
I did my bachelor's in Denver, small state school called Metropolitan State University of Denver.
Yeah.
Which is a mouthful, but it was just a small state school. It was fantastic, and I loved it.
Wonderful. And you were in Minnesota.
Yep. University of Minnesota Twin Cities, same place that Dr. Klein.
Is that the what's their mascot?
The Gophers, the Golden Gophers.
I knew that. God, I knew that. I even have a shirt with the Gophers on it. You know what? I forgot to introduce our wine, which is obviously very important, and we didn't even do a cheers. Again, I'm Dr. Jessee from Good Sound Audiology. Thank you for joining us today. We are talking to two of our future audiologists. So if you're interested in learning about our field of audiology or what might bring people into this field, I hope you sit back, have the drink of your choice, whatever that is, and enjoy this happy hour with us. So today we are actually bringing back a vineyard that I visited in California, and we've had this wine on here before, but I don't think we did the white. I don't remember, but either way, this is I think it's a different vintage. This is a 2014 Chardonnay it's called the Sarah case, which I believe Sarah is the owner's daughter. And I think I read that they had like 6,000 cases of this. So it's a pretty small release, not too big. And anyway, it's a great vineyard. I'm trying to remember where this is. Oh, perfect. It's written on here for me. I've been there, but I've been to several vineyards. This is off of the Sleepy Hollow Vineyard in Santa Lucia Highlands. Anyway, it's a lovely vineyard. I actually joined their little wine club because they have really nice wine. They also make a fabulous Pinot Noir, but yeah, their Chardonnay's good. So welcome and cheers. We're all enjoying a little Chardonnay on this starting to be summer hot weather for Arizona. All right, so there we're good. Retoasted. Again, for those of you just joining us, I'm Dr. Jessee. This is Megan It's the last part. Bruxvoort. I'm going to get it, really. And this is Jayce Hapka, two of our doctoral students who are with us today from Arizona State University. So I don't know who wants to answer this. I'll just throw it out there. So when I was in school, we did, you did a bachelor's, you did a master's, and then if you wanted to do your doctorate, you could, which is 2 years, and then we did a fellowship. And so I always forget how long that took, 9 years. And they changed the whole program around. They got rid of the fellowship, but they added a longer doctorate program. So tell me a little bit about what the requirements are now. You have to still have your bachelor's.
Right. You complete your bachelor's degree at an undergraduate institution, and then if it's in a communication sciences and communication disorders major, then you basically can start your doctorate if you're accepted to a program. But you could study basically anything you want in undergrad as long as you do some certain credits that fill in the gaps and basically prepare you for something in audiology if you don't do that.
Probably
before.
some sciences,
Yeah,
I'm guessing.
Sciences.
Yeah. And did you both do your undergrad in this field, or were you doing something else?
Yes, I did mine, and the major was called Speech, Language, and Hearing Sciences. So
Okay.
it was all speech language pathology students and audiology students.
And what about you, Jayce?
Same thing. It's called Speech, Language, Hearing Sciences at the University of Minnesota.
Okay. So when my bachelor's was actually called, it's a degree in communication disorders. So I'm curious. So when I came out with after my master's as well, forgive me, it was just a bachelor's of science and then a master's of science. And when I came out, I felt like from my master's, I felt like I was almost more qualified to be a speech pathologist. Have they changed that?
In terms of graduate education, yes.
Okay.
Now, when you do your Doctor of Audiology, which is what we're doing, it is all audiology focused from the moment you start your graduate studies through the end of it. But the undergrad, I felt like, was much more speech language pathology oriented. We only had one class in audiology.
See, that's how I felt. I was like, man, I could be a great speech pathologist. But I didn't really feel, when I did got into my fellowship would be, I think, equivalent to the beginning of your doctorate program or whatever. Then I felt like, okay, now I'm getting some really great audiology experience. But I wasn't sure if they had shifted that or not. And so your doctorate program takes how long?
Total of 4 years. You do 3 years of academic study and then part-time clinical learning, like I did this last semester with you. Mm-hmm. And then your 4th year, you basically participate in an externship where you spend the whole year working in the field 5 days a week, seeing patients, doing research, a variety of different things.
Okay. And you guys can choose, and when I say you guys, I mean all 4th year students in the world, essentially. You can choose that kind of location. You don't stay in state. You can stay in state. You can do whatever you want. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
I wonder what percentage of people actually leave. Do you know? I don't know. I'm just curious.
I think it depends a little on the program.
Right.
I have talked to students in other programs who most of their students stay within an area pretty close to the university.
Right.
They have relationships established with local practices.
Sure.
Here in ASU, though, most students tend to leave the state and go elsewhere, and our year is a bit of an exception in that over half of us are staying here in Arizona.
Really?
So that's the first time that's happened.
It's because of our fabulous weather. I also have this, I don't know if it's accurate, you guys could probably tell me, I also have this perception that the ASU students, a lot come in from other states. Is that true, or did I imagine that? Well, both of you came in from other states, so there's got to be, maybe that's why I imagined it. Is that true, or is it a good mixture, or do they pull a lot from out of state?
I think that's graduate programs for audiology in general. I
Okay.
think the people directing those admissions programs like to have a good mix of people from all over the United States, at least from what I've heard. And, typically they'll carve out a couple slots in their programs for people that went to ASU, if it's at ASU or things like that. But they like to get a good variety of people from all
Well,
over
I
the
know
United
it's
States.
extremely competitive.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, if you guys go back and review, welcome. Thank you for joining us. If you're coming in late to our Good Sound Audiology Happy Hour, I'm Dr. Jessee with Good Sound Audiology, and this is Megan Bruxvoort. Yeah, I got it right. And Jayce Hapka, 2 of our doctoral students from Arizona State University, joining us today just to kind of talk about the field of audiology. And I reintroduced, and I forgot where I was before I did that. I just know it's very competitive. I had in a past happy hour, if you guys want to go back and look on our website, I had one of your professors on here, and we were talking about that. There's a, I don't remember the exact numbers, but there's a lot of applications, and unfortunately only a few slots that get in. So kudos for you guys for being accepted. So I'm curious, what are you guys looking forward to? Well, let me back up. So talk a little bit about this. Now, I don't even know if we had prepared you for this, but it's easy. I promise. Talk a little bit about the different possibilities for audiologists, like the fields they can go into. Most people, if you're my patient, you know that I'm in private practice, and I dispense hearing aids, but that is not at all the majority of audiologists, that's for sure. So can you talk a little bit about what some of your...
There's a surprising variety because, you think it's audiology, which seems very specific and kind of pointed in a certain direction, but it was surprising to learn how different professions you can pick in audiology. Like you said, private practice, or you could even be in hearing conservation where you contract with large corporations that have factories and things like that and monitor the employees' hearing and take measurements of the areas where there's hazardous sound and things like that. You can also work in ENT offices. There's a huge variety. What else?
A lot of people also enjoy working with children. So for those, either ENT offices sometimes will work with children, or there's children's hospitals. And then there's also industry. So there are some audiologists who choose to work for the hearing aid manufacturers, either educating audiologists about the latest and greatest with how to program whatever hearing aids, or providing general education, things like that. So there's definitely a lot.
Right, and there's cochlear implants. Again, you can be a hospital-based audiologist. You can do interruptive monitoring. We're actually in the OR. There's educational audiologists. So I don't know what people think. If they think it's just purely dispensing, or if they think it's mostly, I don't know. But there's a huge variety that I'm not sure people are aware of. So I'm curious. I know your answer to this, but I don't know if the people watching this do. Where are you guys leaning, and do you have an idea of what you want to do yet when you finish your 4th year? Because when they finish their 4th year, they're official. They will have their doctorate degrees, and they can go and rule the world. So do you know what you're wanting to do?
My goal is to start working in a private practice, to start gaining experience, building toward the eventual goal of owning my own private practice.
Okay.
How long that'll take, I don't know, but that's sort of my short-term and long-term plan.
Okay. And what about you?
I am still not 100% sure. So I know I'm interested in private practice. I don't know if I'm interested in owning one, but certainly working in one.
Right.
And then another thing that I am potentially interested in is working in industry, simply because I like technology and being a bit of a tech guru. So that would appeal to that side of me.
So again, going completely rogue, did you hear the big announcement today?
I don't think I did.
Did you hear the big announcement today, Dr. Klein? All right, you guys. Here's a great big news flash for those of you who are watching us live. Big news flash. You didn't hear this? I feel like I'm making a big announcement.
No.
Widex and Cervantos merged. Siemens and Widex are going to be one company.
That's big.
Yes, right? I know. You guys don't know this, but hey, cheers. That's a big announcement in our world. So another reason to toast. So in our field, some would say there's the big 6. If you're my patient, I've said there's the big 5. But anyway, there's essentially, for the last 4,000 years, been 6 really reputable manufacturers. And 2 of those announced today that they will be merging. So that is a very big announcement in our field. You didn't know that? No, I feel like I just, announced a coup, like mid-broadcast. Guess what happens? So anyway, we'll see what happens with that. But I was like, oh my gosh, and I'm reading all the forums today and kind of the impressions of that. So speaking of industry and technology, we'll see how that works out for you, because it's now going to be the big 5 and then the big 4. The world is changing. So over-the-counter hearing aids, you can run to Walgreens now, get your hearing aid, go to Costco, or you can come here to Good Sound Audiology. But again, the world is changing as far as amplification and opportunities for better hearing. So that's really what matters. So here's a fun question. What has been your favorite part of your doctorate program? And then what's been your least favorite part?
Well, I'll start with my favorite. I have really enjoyed the variety of clinical experiences that I've had, because we do one every semester at a different setting with different professionals. And so I've really enjoyed seeing those different settings and then meeting the professionals in the field. And that's how I met you, and I really loved that. So
I know you did a private practice. And where else did you go?
I did 2 different ENT offices, one that was more focused on diagnostics, so just simply testing hearing, figuring all of that. and then one that had a lot of cochlear implant experience,
Right.
Which I just completed that one.
Okay.
So it was very widespread. I also did one additional semester at the ASU clinic where I was a lot more independent. So I wasn't directly observed by another audiologist. It was an indirect observation, and I learned a lot because when you're in the room by yourself, when you have to problem solve right in the moment, you really learn quickly.
And were you seeing pediatrics or adults?
Adults.
Adults, okay.
Yes.
And were you dispensing?
Not necessarily. I was assisting in the dispensing process, but as a student, we are not allowed to fully dispense on our own.
But were you like programming or counseling or oral rehab?
All of the above.
Yes. Oh, that's fun. That's fun. And what about you? We'll go to your favorite.
Yeah, my favorite is kind of the same. Just the fact that second semester of school, they start throwing us into clinical experiences, the on-campus clinic.
Right.
Some programs I've heard they kind of wait and draw it out before they'll finally let you get in and start seeing patients, which has been my favorite part of everything that I've learned and done so far. They get you into it right away, and they give you a lot of clinical experience by the time you graduate.
I'm so shocked that neither one of you said my rotation with Dr. Jessee. But that's okay. I'm not hurt.
Of course, that was encompassed in my answer.
That's right. That was just assumed. No, you know what? I still have patients who ask for you, and I'm sure I'll have patients that they're like, "Where?" So they're going to be excited to see you come back for a fourth year. We're really excited to have Megan come back. I had told her a long time ago, if you stay in state for your fourth year, call me. And she called me, and I thought she was kidding, and she wasn't. So I was like, "Yay!" And I better not have made the least favorite part list. What is your least favorite part, or what's been your least favorite?
I think my least favorite part is just how expensive it is. I wish that there were ways to make school more affordable. I think this is not just an audiology problem. This is, in general, higher education right now.
Right.
But both of us have the added problem of that we're out of state. And so it's quite a bit more expensive. And I wish that there were a different way that they could manage that so that we don't go into quite so much student loan debt.
Right. And you?
I would really echo those sentiments because, we're out of state. We're all sincerely in our audiology program, my entire class, because we set out to help improve people's lives.
Right.
This is an unfortunate byproduct of that, one we all knew about when we signed up for it. But we all still made that decision because that's how motivated we are. But it's still just something, when you look at that number at the end of the year, at the end of another year in a 4-year program, it starts building up really quickly and starts distracting you from what you set out to do in the first place.
Yes, that is a, I think, was it you and I that talked about this? Or was it you and I met and had our lunch? So it might have been you, but just, it takes a long time to pay that back. I too took out financial aid, and I was in state. So I'm sure, although, and it was a million years ago, so I'm sure it was less, but it took me 20 years to pay it back. But I would do it all over again. I do say that. In fact, I told you I guessed in this weekend, and young people like yourselves, and we were talking about that, and I said I would absolutely do it all over. But it did until literally when I moved to Arizona in 2001. I think that's when I finished paying off my financial aid. It took a long time, but I paid it every month. And again, best investment I ever made. But it is a little daunting when you get out and you have this huge bill, essentially, that you have to pay. In my case, for the next 20 years. So, but again, that's unfortunate because that's a lot of stress on you. But if you go into private practice, hopefully you'll be able to take care of that and not have it hang over you for 20 years. So that would be nice. That would be nice. Or maybe just somebody gifts you, I don't know, tuition. That would be fabulous. Any words of advice you would take? I actually have some patients who have relatives who are like, "Oh, can I bring my daughter in? She's thinking of going into this field." Oh, you know what? Forgive me. Let me pause on that. We have a question. I'm so sorry.
What exactly is Better Hearing Month?
Oh, so it's May. I believe there is a better, probably orange juice month. There is, May tends to be the month that we recognize better hearing. So it's just a month that we give special attention to, hearing loss, preventing hearing loss, We give more, is that a good way to say it? We just give more attention, more credit, recognition to not necessarily audiology, but just better hearing in general in the population. So comes along every year, May 1st to May 31st. Is there a 31st of May?
Yes.
And then, so actually, and we are here, we're doing a promo to celebrate that. And then, do you guys, I'll give you a trivia question and see I'll tell you what, if either one of you know this, I'll send you home with the Pinot Noir that we have sitting over here. All right. So here's the question, and if you guys know, our few viewers, this gets watched more often later. You can type in the answer too, but you don't get the wine. Do you know when? I think it's what is it? I don't. It's not like occupational noise, but preventative hearing. I forget the name. Dr. Klein's looking at me. I don't know if she knows. Don't say it if you know it. But you get the gist. It's like preventative, occupational noise. That's what I'm looking for. What month is that?
I'm just gonna take a wild
Just
stab.
you have a 1 out of 12
say
shot.
that it's October.
And you,
September.
Dr. Klein? Do you know?
No, but I was gonna be October.
And October is correct.
Mm-hmm.
How did you know that? Did you know that?
It just sounded right. I don't
Did
know.
it?
I feel like there's a lot of things going on in October.
In October, it was a good shot. Well, you knew it wasn't May, so I'm like, yeah, you could get it. Yeah, it is October. So, yes, Dr. Klein had it right too. So we'll do something for our patients in that month as well. But in May, we are going to we're doing some promotions and really it's a great opportunity to educate people about better hearing. I had some patients today coming in through the VA, actually all week. There's been a group of them, and they all have horrible left ears, and they are all 25 years old, and they're all in the severe hearing loss category. Yeah, like I was like 3 in a row. I'm like, what are they doing to your left ear? And it was guns and mortars. Mortar, is that the word where the cannon comes out? But they were all below the age of 28, and they all have moderately severe hearing loss on that left side. Yeah. So I'm like, oh, prevention. They're all hearing aid candidates for the left ear. They all knew very much why. Yeah. They're like, yeah, I shot, and I remember this day, this went off, and I couldn't hear for 4 days. So yeah, October is an important month too, but we can talk about that in May as well. It's way easier. Like I said, I love giving better hearing, but I would also love for people just not to lose their hearing. That would be fabulous too. I could find something else to spend my time doing during the day, preventatively. That's just as much fun as the technology part. So, do you guys have any idea, like, are you planning on staying in state? Do you know where you're going?
It's really hard to say because, that all depends on what opportunities open up for you, and then it's a job application just like anything else. So
Right.
A lot of it's out of your hands. You can focus where you want to start your search. I'm from Minnesota, so maybe going back to Minnesota wouldn't be bad, but the weather here is a little better. So
All those murders in Minnesota. That's what I told one of my patients.
watching too much Fargo.
No, right. No, I have one of my patients who, she's just lovely. One of my favorite patients, and she came in a few years ago, and she's like, "I'm moving to Scottsdale," and I was like, "Oh." I said, they have all those murders there. It's just not safe. So anyway, but she's since moved back. So, we joke about that. She's like, yeah, it was all those murders. I had to come back to Chandler. So yeah, all those murders, whatever it'll, stay in Arizona. It's fabulous here. So we covered your least part. And we actually have another question.
What is Megan most looking forward to as she goes back to Good Sound Audiology next year?
Ooh, that's an excellent question. I think I'm actually looking most forward to the business side of things because obviously Dr. Jessee owns her business here, and I think that she has a ton to teach me, not just from a clinical perspective and working with patients, but beyond that. So I'm really looking forward to that. And of course, I enjoy your company.
Yeah, that's right. You didn't have to say that. Yeah, that's a good question. And I think for those students who are interested in private practice, I think, actually, I don't know that it's bad exposure anyway. I think something I would do differently if I ran the world is I would give audiology students a lot more time in business. Not only in business, but marketing and just, I've always said if I am interviewing students, or really anyone in my office, if they have retail or hospitality, like just working in a restaurant, that you'd be amazed how much of that comes over and how important it is in just working with people. And I think sometimes we get so caught up in the diagnostics and the pathologies and all of the stuff that is really exciting to learn that we forget sometimes that it's working with people and just knowing how to communicate and shake a hand and make eye contact. And then to do those things, you have to be able to run a business. You have to keep your doors open every day. So that will be fun. I'm looking forward to giving you that because I think it's just so important. What about you, Jayce?
I think what it's going to be for me is having 5 days a week where I just get to cultivate my relationships with patients. And
Right.
I'm going to get to stay with those same patients for a whole year.
Yeah.
As much as I like rotating around and getting the different experiences,
Right.
I love seeing somebody a few months down the road when you've already, cultivated that relationship with
Right.
them. And it's awesome. I love that part of it the most. So getting the week-long exposure to patients and getting to see them in a few months, not just for a couple of weeks, I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, that is the best part. You get really attached. At least I do. I get really attached to them, and that's the best part. That and the fact that I think I'm so grateful that our technology, as dispensing audiologists, if we didn't have good technology, our day would be miserable. And thankfully, I love what I fit. I feel like I provide better hearing. I feel like I'm making a difference, and that makes the rest easy because then. And you're delivering that. So then people look forward to seeing you too because they like you. Whereas if you're just fitting something that's not working and taking a lot of money for it, then it's just a bad experience. And who wants to do that every day? Did we have a question or we already got it? Okay, perfect. I wasn't sure if we had answered that or not. I don't think I asked you this. I think I started. Any advice, did I ask you this, that you would give to a student coming in? Oh, did we talk about that?
I think we had started to,
And I
we didn't
changed
get
it.
to
Yes. So if a student's coming in, what would be some advice you would give?
I think going back to our discussion a little bit about the cost of the degree, I would just highly advise to really take a look at all of the options that you have, both in state and out of state. Sometimes programs do offer some like scholarship or assistance that doesn't have to be paid back, and to really take those things into consideration. I ended up choosing ASU over some options that would have been a lot cheaper, and I wouldn't necessarily change my journey or my experience, but I do sometimes wonder if choosing a slightly cheaper option would maybe have been better. So just really considering all those options before choosing.
That's great advice. Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Jayce?
I think you kind of mentioned it. Go in with a relative that seeks out hearing care and just to kind of see what an appointment is like, or contact an audiologist and just spend a day figuring out what a day on the job is actually like.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it's hard as a high school student or even an undergraduate student. We talked about how it's mainly focused on speech language and pathology. Speech language pathology, it's kind of hard to visualize what a day in the life is like when all you've done is read a book chapter about the different options you can go into in audiology.
Right.
Because I think as much as, I read about it and heard about it up until that day that I had my first full day of observation in clinic, which was in my graduate degree, what I had in my head and what it actually was were a little bit different.
Really?
It wasn't a bad thing. It's just
Right.
I had to kind of recalibrate and figure out what my next 4 years would be like. Yeah.
I'm trying to remember back to when I did I don't think I had any thought or even knew. I just took an allied health course, and I'd had a brother who had hearing loss, and I'm like, oh, that sounds great. And I happen to like it, thank goodness, because here I am, 2 years later. Thankfully that worked out, but I didn't have any exposure or any idea, really. And I also think it's important to point out you can do that, but especially when you're young, you may not have any idea. I doubt you guys knew. Did you know going in you wanted to be, go into private practice? Did you know that early on? I mean, like when you were in who knows that?
Yeah.
Who knows that when I didn't. But even if you go into a private practice and then you go into the hospital setting where I spent years, or even an ENT setting, they're so diverse. So yeah, they're completely different. So you might be like, oh my gosh, I couldn't do that every day. That's how I felt about speech pathology. No offense to my speech pathology friends, but I was like, oh my gosh, I can't do this every day. But I think if my daughter observed me, she recently spent time, she wants to be an ophthalmologist, and she spent time in an optometry clinic and loved the day and was so grateful for it. But she's like, it's funny, Mom. She said the same thing to a lot of patients. They had a day full of normals, which we never get here. But, you know, I said, well, you do learn to say the same things because you got to get the same information. And then you can sit back and really, you know, interact and enjoy things. You know, so I think the vibe you might pick up here, it's a very different energy in a different setting. I think when you're young, you have no clue. So anyway, we are already out of time. I told you it goes very quick. So I would like to thank you all for joining us. I hope if you're looking into the field of audiology or you have family who is, you will share this video with them. I forgot to tell you guys, I'm supposed to ask everybody to like this video, to share this video, and I didn't do it one time. So we will be announcing at a later date our next happy hour. It's always on the third Wednesday of the month at 4:30, so I hope you will join us then. Happy Better Hearing Month, by the way. So enjoy the rest of your May, and thank you all for joining us, and a special thank you to Jayce and Megan, and good wishes during your 4th year, and I wish you, well, cheers to this as well. I wish you a fabulous, long, fulfilling, joyful career in our wonderful field. So thank you guys for coming today.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Have a great day.